Good day, bright stars. Yes, you are a bright star if you with me on a personal growth journey and if you say yes to joy. Today we are all taking on a new hobby. That is the hobby of being jugglers. No, we don't need to juggle physically, but we are going to learn a lot about juggling our work and life, and to get the balance that we are all yearning for. At Brightstar, we believe that if you want to be a mentor, you need to have a mentor. And if you want to be a coach, you need to have a coach. So recently, when someone offered me the opportunity for coaching, I grabbed it with both arms. The topic of discussion for us, my coach asked me, what would I like the topic of discussion to be? And I said to her that I think I am juggling too many balls. There's many days that I feel the major tasks that I need to focus on a day might be too much. And I would like someone to soundboard everything that I'm doing with. So on the second conversation, she challenged me and said, can we maybe unpack the concept of juggling? And that was a very interesting conversation, as I never thought about juggling, although I used the metaphor in my talking. So she asked me very good questions. Questions like, what do you think a juggler needs to focus on? What kind of characteristics would a juggler need? Would a juggler need to be able to manage his or her emotions? And it was so interesting because it was questions that I never thought about. And I had a few realizations. The first being, wow, I think a juggler actually needs to be able to rest well so that they'll be able to give their best when they have a show and they need to juggle. So that was one of the things I started realizing. So today I am going to share a few of my ahas with you on juggling. But I would love you to share your experience and what you understand with this topic with your colleagues, share it with your friends, share it with your family. And please, if there's something that you can share with me, I would love that. You can contact me at amanda@brightstarlifestyle.co.za. So let's look at a few facts about juggling. The first thing is we need to know what can be juggled. So the first basic things that I realized is you can juggle balls, you can juggle clubs or pins, as some people say. You can juggle rings. The not so common, not so basic things are you can juggle plates, you can juggle knives, you can juggle fire torches, you can juggle chainsaws. I saw one person juggling shoes and triangles. There's a lot of things that you can juggle. Kelly Price compares juggling in her life as follows. Sometimes it is like juggling with broken glass, because both things are very sensitive and have to be handled with care. I can't let the career be neglected, and I can't let my family and children be neglected either. I suppose you've heard the quote by James Patterson, where he says, imagine life is a game in which you are juggling 5 balls. The balls are called work, family, health, friends, and integrity. And you are keeping all of them in the air. But one day you finally come to the understanding that work is a rubber ball. If you drop it, it will bounce back. The other 4 balls are made of glass. If you drop one of these, it will be irrevocably scuffed, nicked, perhaps even shattered. The next question that we can look at is how many balls can be juggled at a time? I looked at some world records and I've learned it comes down to three things: numbers, catches, and endurance. So, how many objects can be juggled? How many times can it be caught again? And for how long can you keep on doing just that? Alex Barron from the UK has the world record for juggling balls, and he can juggle 14 balls with 14 catches. Ben's Unodi, a Hungarian guy, he shows us the concept of endurance added to that. So he can juggle 5 balls for 3 hours and 44 minutes. That was his record. Bringing it closer to our daily lives, how many responsibilities can we handle at the same time until we drop some of them? So a good method, I would think, with juggling would be to start with 1 or 2 and then adding more as you see that you can conquer the skill of adding more of them. So most of us juggle far too many at once. Therefore, we spend a lot of time on the floor picking up the balls that fell. A lot of balls will fall while we practice, and that's part of life. But please, we don't need to just be focusing on the floor, picking up balls all the time. It's actually very special, I would think, if we can get to the place of just looking at the balls as they are in the air, raising your eyes. That is the right place to look. If you are juggling too much, put some things down. What if I drop a ball? It is not possible to juggle all the time. A juggler has a suitcase where he packs his juggling tools after a show. Then he would rest before the next show. So do we take some time to put down the balls, the clubs, the rings, whatever you are juggling, and just relax for a while? A mom said, being a mom is like juggling, except the balls are screaming and covered in food. When I shared my discoveries with a friend, she told me, Amanda, I never purposefully put the balls down. Sometimes they just all crash on the floor. She shared with me that she fell asleep one day after work. Just for about 2 hours after she woke up, she realized the washing was not done. The food was not prepared. Everything was in chaos. All the balls were lying on the floor. I don't think that's a good way of looking at juggling. You cannot have all the balls in the air all the time. It's okay to drop some, but it's even better if by own choice you relax a bit and put them down before you continue. Stephanie Snyder puts an interesting view on dropping some of the balls. She says, I dropped my juggling balls and my face grew embarrassed. It wasn't until then that I looked around the circus of life and noticed all were too consumed on their own juggling act to see. This is when I learned to have fun and kick the balls instead. Looking at jugglers when they drop the ball, they stop for a moment. They gather all the balls and then they start again. Dropping is not the end of the world. It is part of life. You just maybe don't need to drop so many of them because you neglect just being in the moment. I would like to share with you some of my own takeaways from this juggling metaphor in my own kind of busy life. So the first thing that I had to decide is, in my mind, what am I juggling if I have a lot of tasks to focus on and trying to balance work and life? So to think of juggling balls and then comparing relationships with glass balls that can fall, that kind of stressed me out a bit. The responsibility feels too big not to drop one of them in a clumsy moment. So, as the idea of my metaphor was to help me stress less, I decided to look at more options. So, next, I look at the possibility to use the metaphor of juggling clubs. So, the idea of you can grab the handles when you juggle them. I realized it actually represents the concept of taking control or taking responsibility. But when I looked at some of the videos of people juggling clubs, my neck and my back kind of felt like it's heavy and it started aching just looking at what these people were juggling. And then I realized, as the idea is that I actually want to stress less, I don't think that the concept of juggling clubs will work for me either. I went back to the drawing board, and one evening I was looking at a video of someone juggling rings. And when I saw that, it actually looked like the person was juggling bubbles. And I decided my brain will benefit by using this picture to view my major responsibilities. So the picture of the bubbles moving up and down actually energized me and did not drain me. The second question on how many I can handle, I saw that the world's best juggler, as we saw with balls, can handle 14 balls and 14 times. And when I wrote down my major responsibilities, I had 15. I actually started laughing because when I looked at the YouTube clips, I saw there's actually clips saying why you cannot juggle 15 balls. And I realized, okay, I don't want to be in any competition. I don't need to break the world record of doing the most things possibly. I just want to reach my life purpose and I want to do that in excellence. And therefore, I cannot juggle or they juggle too many balls or then too many rings. So later on, when I looked at this beautiful concept of the rings looking like bubbles, I even saw me and my team throwing some of the rings to each other and seeing the beautiful picture of us each taking on some of the responsibilities and not one of or two or three of us trying to do everything. It's all about balance. I realized that to be able to focus, a juggler needs to be in the moment. We all hear about mindfulness all the time these days. But I realized the only way that I can juggle all the rings that I decided must be my major tasks, I must actually be in the moment. I've become a juggler, I suppose. It's all a big circus, and nobody who knows me believes I can manage. But sometimes I do. A beautiful quote by Jane Seymour. I decided to look at my personal major tasks, and I realized there's a lot of relationships that I'm juggling, and then there's a lot of tasks that I'm juggling. I decided to cluster them together. And therefore, I came to the place that I've got 10 things to juggle, 5 major relationship groups, and 5 work responsibilities. My brain works with the concept that I can juggle 10. And then I realized I cannot juggle 10 at once. So I have to decide for myself how many I can actually juggle at once. And then I saw the picture of when people juggle the balls and some of them fall on the floor, they pick them up again. But when people juggle rings, they actually catch the rings into their arm. And that was an interesting moment when I realized I don't need to juggle all 10 my major relationships and tasks together. Some of them can wait a while on my arm while I am juggling the rest. This is a very interesting discovery because I realized that I can actually juggle about three things at once. So the rest can be on my arm. And for the last few weeks, I started practicing this concept. When I'm focusing on relationships, I put some of my other tasks on the arm and just know they're still there. I can pick them up, I can juggle them anytime again. But for this moment, I just focus on the one or two or maybe three that I can handle. Mahima Parikh said, the art of juggling is the foundation stone to lead a happy life. So today, will you allow me to encourage you with a few juggling tips and a few good questions? The first one would be the tip, use this moment to really decide, what are you juggling? Get the picture in your mind and don't be overwhelmed. Keep on looking until you get to the place of what you picture as juggling not being overwhelming. Then get a feel on how many you can handle at a specific time. I have friends that I can see they can handle more. Others can handle less. Be honest with yourself. Be in the moment. Focus and enjoy, because all your major tasks and relationships that you are juggling all need to connect with your purpose in life and your values. And if you don't enjoy them, it's not going to be a joyful experience to live life. Don't spend all your time picking up balls. It is not a nice picture of how to live. To live with always being on the ground and picking up the balls. So then the fourth and last tip I would like to share with you is plan moments to purposefully put the balls and rings down and just take a good rest. The key to juggling life is to do it with grace. When we understand these basic rules of juggling, we can maybe, just maybe, move to the next step where we can say yes to juggling with joy.